I'm so tired of watching good business owners get burned when they sell their business. Burned by buyers who knew exactly what to look for. Burned by brokers who got paid whether the deal was good or not. Burned by everything they didn't know that they could have fixed if someone had just told them before they were already sitting across the table from the buyer. That's why this course exists. Here's the thing about buyers. They could be good, they could be sharks. You won't know which one you're dealing with until you're already in a deal. And by then, the leverage has shifted. The preparation window is closed. What you didn't fix before you listed is now a negotiating point. They're using it against you. The multiple your business sells for is not random. It's calculated. And the inputs to that calculation are sitting in your business right now, either working for you or against you. This is about making sure they're working for you. Let's start with how your number actually gets calculated. Two valuation methods come up in almost every small to mid-sized business deal: SDE and EBITDA. Most sellers have heard both terms and aren't sure which one applies to them. SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, is used for smaller businesses, typically under 2 to 3 million in revenue. And you start with net profit and add back your salary, personal expenses run through the business, depreciation, amortization, and one-time costs. The goal is to show the buyer the full economic benefit of owning the business. If your SDE is 400,000, that's the earnings number a multiple gets applied to. EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, is used for larger businesses, generally above $2 to $3 million in revenue. The key difference: EBITDA does not add back the owner's salary. At that size, a buyer assumes they're hiring a manager to replace you. If someone tries to value a smaller business using EBITDA without adding back your compensation, your earnings look lower than they are. If your SDE is 400,000, that's the earnings number a multiple gets applied to. Know which method applies to your business before anyone runs a number. Now, the multiple. Your SDE or EBITDA gets multiplied by a number, typically between 2 times and 5 times for small businesses. On a $400,000 SDE, the difference between a 2x and 4x multiple is $800,000. Same earnings, same business. That gap is entirely determined by how buyers assess your risk. If you're getting value from this, hit subscribe. This is part of my free YouTube course, Exit Ready, and there's a lot more where this came from. Here are the 7 things that move your multiple. Every one of them is something that you can work on before you go to market. 1, owner dependency. If the business runs through you, your relationships, your decisions, your presence, buyers price that as risk. But how much risk depends entirely on who's buying. A strategic buyer or a private equity group adding this to their portfolio of businesses, they're not stepping in. They need the business to run without an owner in the seat. And owner dependency to them is a significant multiple compressor and sometimes a deal killer. Know your buyer type before you decide how much energy to put into fixing this one. As an individual operator stepping into your shoes, they may see owner dependency as manageable. They're planning to be there anyway, and a longer transition just means more time learning the business. 2, financial clarity. Messy books, inconsistent categorization, P&Ls that don't match tax returns. When your buyer can't trust your numbers, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt. They lower your multiple. 3, customer concentration. Seller has 2 customers at 35% and 25% of revenue. No signed contracts on either one. Buyer comes in at 2.5 multiple instead of 4. On $400,000 in SDE, that's a $600,000 difference. Same business. One conversation with the right attorney 2 years earlier could have fixed that. 4, Revenue quality. Revenue you have to re-earn every month feels risky. Contracts, retainers, renewals, predictable revenue gets a higher multiple almost without exception. 5. Documented systems. If your operations live in your head, a buyer is buying you, not a business. Every process that's written down reduces perceived risk and tells a buyer this place runs without you. 6. Clean legal and compliance history. Pending disputes, unresolved vendor situations, regulatory gaps, buyers find all of it in due diligence, and every single one becomes a negotiating point. 7. Business trajectory. Is revenue growing, stable, or declining? A clean upward trend over 3 to 5 years commands a higher multiple than flat or declining performance, even at identical earnings. 7. Now here's what most sellers don't calculate until they're sitting at the closing table. That $1.2 million valuation is not your check. Here's what comes out first. Broker commissions at 8 to 12% on most small business deals. On a $1.2 million sale, that's up to $144,000 before you sign anything. Legal and transaction fees for both sides, another $30,000 to $60,000. Business debt, every outstanding loan, line of credit, equipment financing gets paid off at close out of your proceeds, not the buyer's money. Then deal structure. Earnouts, seller notes, holdbacks can keep 10 to 20% of your proceeds out of your hands for months or years after close. And then taxes. The wrong structure can cost you $150,000 or more on a $1.2 million deal, depending on how your proceeds get categorized. Before you talk to a single buyer or broker, run your own rough net proceeds number. Take your estimated valuation, subtract broker fees at 10%, subtract your known debt, and estimate your tax burden based on your likely deal structure. That number is your real floor, the minimum the deal needs to clear to make sense. The Exit Ready Vault has the net proceeds calculator that runs every line item so you walk into any conversation knowing your actual number, not just your asking price. The link is in the description. In the next video, I'm covering the 6 phases of a business sale, what actually happens at each stage, where your leverage is highest, and where most sellers lose it without even realizing it.